Welcome back to our channel, where we bring you the shocking secrets, unexpected twists and unprecedented drama of the movie Beyond the Gates. Get ready, because what is about to happen will make you unable to take your eyes off. In the lavish and glamorous space of Fairmont Crest Country Club, every sparkling light reflects on every glass of wine, every fake smile and every calculating handshake. This is the party night considered the biggest event of the year of the Fairmont Crest community, where the most powerful and wealthy faces gather, in which the Dupree family is always the center of attention. The atmosphere initially seemed peaceful, the jazz music played softly, the guests raised their glasses to toast, and polite smiles were interspersed among the probing glances. But then, everything suddenly stopped when the music stopped. Silence enveloped the large room, as if the space was squeezed into an invisible trap. And at that moment, the large door swung open, the figure of a woman appeared, causing all hearts to stop at the same time. Barbara, the founder of the legendary Articulettes, whom everyone believed had died many years ago, walked out as if she had never left this world. With each step she took, the sound of her shoes echoed in the still air, her cold eyes swept across the auditorium, causing even the most powerful people to bow their heads involuntarily. No one dared to believe their eyes. Anita was stunned, her hand gripping the wine glass so tightly that it almost broke, while Leslie was stiff, her face pale as if the entire world she had known had just been erased. Barbara stopped in the middle of the auditorium, without a microphone, but her voice rang out coldly, sharp as a knife cutting into each person. "Leslie, you are not my daughter." The words exploded like a bomb, breaking the pretended peaceful atmosphere. Leslie was stunned, her mind spinning as all her memories of her identity and all her long-held beliefs disappeared in an instant. Anita was trembling, both terrified and angry. She had thought that Barbara had left everything behind. But it turned out that this return was not only to expose the truth, but also to destroy the entire family foundation that she had worked so hard to build. In the bustling crowd, another face stood out not because of her splendor, but because of her frighteningly pale complexion, Peaches. The woman who always appeared with a fake smile, always behind the hidden plots, suddenly became the center of attention. Barbara's eyes were directed straight at Peaches, full of hidden meaning, as if she knew clearly that Peaches was the one behind the whole deception that had lasted for many years. All eyes turned to Peaches, and in that moment, the quiver at the corner of her lips betrayed everything. The atmosphere in the auditorium became so stifling that it could make anyone suffocate. Leslie fell into a state of panic, Anita was engulfed in anger, and Barbara stood there as the one with absolute power, controlling the entire game. Barbara's statement was not just a simple denial, but also the opening shot of the chain of chaos that would engulf the Dupree family and the entire Fairmont Crest community. Every secret, every conspiracy, every grudge hidden under the glamorous shell now began to rise, and each character would be forced to face the most naked truth. Peaches knew that the truth that Barbara implied was not only related to Leslie, but also touched the very roots of the entire Dupree family. She had thought she could keep everything a secret, but the look in Barbara's eyes tonight was a sign that the real nightmare had just begun. After Barbara coldly declared that Leslie was not her daughter, the entire auditorium fell into chaos. Murmurs rang out everywhere, shock turned into widespread waves, no one could maintain a calm expression anymore. Leslie staggered, her eyes were empty, her heart was pounding, every breath seemed to be held. Since she was young, she had been raised to believe that Barbara was her biological mother, that her identity was legitimate, that the blood bond would forever protect her from doubts and storms. But in just one sentence, everything fell apart, the world she had built in her mind was shattered like dust. Anita stood still, her face trembling slightly, but then quickly turned into anger. She felt utterly betrayed, as if all these years she had been nothing more than a puppet in someone else's game. In front of so many powerful guests, under the satisfied scrutiny of her enemies, Anita's honor was mercilessly crushed by Barbara. She clenched her fists, a terrible anger welling up in her heart, directed at Barbara and also at Leslie. Because whether intentionally or unintentionally, Leslie had become the one who brought this humiliation. Meanwhile, Peaches trembled like someone cornered. All this time, she thought she had cleverly hidden the secret, that no one could touch the truth she had buried deep in the darkness. But Barbara's gaze stopped on her like a death sentence. What Barbara knew could destroy not only Leslie, not only Anita, but also tear apart the mask that Peaches had worn for so long. Cold sweat broke out, her hand clenched tightly around her handbag, and in that moment, Peaches knew that the road ahead would have no way out. Barbara continued to walk up to the central podium, each step of hers dragging the bloody and secretive past back into the present. Her return was not to seek forgiveness, nor to reunite, but to expose the buried truth. She affirmed to everyone that Leslie had no blood ties to her, that her entire identity was just an elaborate drama set up to cover up a much more terrible truth. All eyes were on Peaches, and in the heavy silence, no one had any doubts left. Leslie collapsed, her shoulders shaking, tears streaming down. But instead of finding comfort, she was met with contemptuous looks from those who had once called her family, who had cherished her as part of their clan. They saw her as a fraud, as a danger to the reputation of the entire Fairmont Crest community. In excruciating pain, Leslie could only hug herself, trying to hold on to her breath in the thick air of collapse. Anita stepped forward, her face tense, her eyes bloodshot. In that moment, she was no longer the gentle mother or the strong woman, but the embodiment of an angry storm. She didn't need to speak, because just her look was enough to make Leslie understand that from now on she would be seen as an enemy in the very home that had once sheltered her. Anita turned to Barbara, her lips trembling but her eyes bright and full of hatred. This truth not only humiliated Leslie, but also directly hit her, dragging her into a quagmire she had never been prepared to face. Peaches was almost broken now. For years, she had used that lie to her advantage, to manipulate her dark schemes. She thought that Barbara had disappeared forever, that the secret would follow her to the grave. But now, Barbara stood before her, alive and powerful, bringing the whole truth to light. Peaches's heart was choked with fear and despair, because she knew that from this moment on, her web of intrigue would begin to collapse piece by piece. The whole room was in an uproar. The chatter and whispers spread like wildfire. Everyone wanted to know what the secret really was. Everyone was speculating about the true relationship between Leslie, Peaches, and the Dupree family. Some were happy that this powerful family had finally been humiliated. Others were afraid of the political and social implications that the incident would bring. But above all, Barbara's appearance had opened a giant rift, an irreparable hole in the seemingly solid world of Fairmont Crest. Barbara was silent, her eyes never leaving Peaches. There was contempt in that look, there was triumph, and there was an underlying message: I know everything, and I will not stop until it is all revealed. Leslie looked up, her eyes brimming with tears, but her gaze was a mixture of pain and anger. She refused to be made invisible, refused to let the world see her as an imposter. A new fire began to burn in Leslie's heart. If her identity was just a product of a conspiracy, then she would be the one to tear down all the layers of concealment to find the ultimate truth. The party at the Fairmont Crest Country Club was no longer a lavish ceremony to show off wealth and power. It had turned into a battlefield, where every look, every breath carried murderous intent. And from that moment on, no one could escape the storm that was brewing. Please don't miss any developments. Continue to follow and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the next shocking secrets.